Everyone knew I was deeply in love with Julian, diligently staying by his side for 10 years. Now he was getting engaged to someone else, and everyone was waiting to see me fall apart. But they didn't know, I had stopped loving him long ago. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. Ms. Luna, the engagement party is in your hands. All right, no problem. I maintained a polite smile, facing the man I had once loved for 7 years, completely unfazed. Julian raised a skeptical eyebrow, glancing at me. Do you have any other questions? Yes, I do. Go on, Julian said, a hint of triumph flashing across his face. I asked methodically, what's the budget for this engagement party? Has the exact date been set? And what about gowns, jewelry, and so on? Enough. Go coordinate all of this with Scarlett. All right. Perhaps it was my imagination, but a flicker of disappointment crossed Julian's face. He probably thought I was too calm. But he didn't know, I had stopped loving him long ago. Scarlett, the eldest daughter of the Vance family, was a famously glamorous socialite. Even though this marriage was an open secret as an arranged business alliance, it didn't stop outsiders from defining their union as love at first sight, a perfect match, truly meant for each other. I held my laptop, listening to Scarlett's various demands, maintaining my smile throughout. Only when the last word was typed did I finally record all the demands of this future mistress of the house. Maintaining a professional demeanor, I still politely asked, Ms. Scarlett, do you have any other requests regarding the engagement party? Scarlett looked at me with a challenging gaze, stating word for word, after the engagement party, I expect Ms. Luna to leave the Sterling. I looked at Scarlett in confusion, quickly understanding her intention. I apologize, but I cannot agree to that immediately. My employment contract is with the STE. Bling's HR department, and dismissing me without cause would require proper justification. However, I shifted my tone, smiling as I looked at Scarlett. If the severance package is satisfactory, I might consider your suggestion. People from a humble background certainly have narrow horizons. It's just money, you'll be satisfied. I smiled faintly, then thank you, future madam. After seeing Scarlett out, Chloe, who was by my side, couldn't help but complain, she's not even married yet and she's already interfering with Sterling affairs. She has that right. Chloe has been with me since she joined the Sterling, a rare confidant. I patted her on the shoulder, not saying much more. It was normal for Scarlett to be hostile towards me. After all, I had been by Julian's side for a full 10 years, and everyone thought I was deeply in love with him. I was an orphan, living alone in this world, without emotional demands, wanting only to work hard and earn a lot of money, enough to at least achieve financial independence. One day, returning to campus from a part-time job, I encountered some thugs harassing me. Just as I felt alone and helpless, Julian appeared. He fought with the thugs and even shielded me from a beer bottle they violently threw. Seeing the bloodstains on Julian's forehead and his body covered in bruises, I felt a pang of sympathy for someone for the first time. Julian said indifferently, "Why are you crying? They're just minor injuries." The young man nonchalantly picked up his fallen jacket, draped it casually over his shoulder, and stood backlit. His cool gaze and sharp silhouette were frozen into an eternal image. Later, because of that act of heroism, I willingly and wholeheartedly stayed by his side for 7 years. I always thought I would be the one to stay by Julian's side in the end. He had a bad temper and was extremely picky. Many people pursued him over the years, but none could last even half a year, while I remained by his side. For a full 7 years, without regret. As a secretary, a work partner, and a compliant fallback option. What are you thinking about? I called you and you didn't hear me. A familiar warm embrace enveloped me, accompanied by a low, husky complaint in my ear. Nothing much, just thinking about that demanding CEO's fiancé. Don't think about work when you're home. Today I stewed some ribs for you, and made your favorite spicy fish stew. I smiled, cupping Ethan's face, and gave him a big, open kiss. You're the best, my sweet husband. My sweet husband happily went to the kitchen to bring out the dishes. I looked at the man wearing a bear-themed apron and smiled with relief. Julian was a thing of the past. The man before me was my true partner, my family. Wherever there are people, there's office politics, and even at the elite Sterling, gossip was rampant. It seemed Scarlett's words about me leaving the Sterling had already spread. The way people looked at me was filled with suspicion, curiosity, and even disdain. Scarlett was indeed a difficult woman. Ms. Luna, bring me a coffee. The intercom rang. It was Julian's cold command. I smoothly brewed the coffee and brought it in, taking the opportunity to report on the day's work. Julian looked at the black coffee in front of him, frowned slightly, then glanced at me again. Seeing my indifference, he seemed even more annoyed. I understood his implication, but I didn't want to get involved. Julian had a sensitive stomach and often got sick. To take care of his health, I used to make him nutritious meals every day, smiling fakely and begging him to eat a few bites. I also frequently advised him to drink less stomach-irritating beverages like black coffee. Even when he didn't listen, I couldn't help but nag him. But ever since my miscarriage a year ago, I had gradually stopped my habit of nagging him. I reported on the day's work strictly professionally, but Julian seemed a bit distracted. Mr. Julian, do you have any other plans for today's schedule? You met Scarlett yesterday? The topic changed so abruptly. Yes. How did it go? It was all right. Miss Scarlett made many requests for the engagement party. And you, what are your thoughts? We will try our best to meet them within budget. If there are any discrepancies, we'll communicate with Miss Scarlett. Of course, anything truly unresolvable will be reported to Mr. Julian for his decision. You're certainly by the book, Julian remarked, his words carrying obvious sarcasm. I heard Scarlett asked you to leave Sterling after the engagement? Miss Scarlett did mention it. What are your thoughts on that? Julian asked, twirling a pen between his fingers while staring intently at me. This was his habitual gesture. He'd twirl his pen when he was nervous. But his gaze, it was like he was eyeing a prey he was sure to capture. I smiled faintly. If the severance package is reasonable, I'll consider it. Julian dropped the pen with a snap, looking at me coldly, his face full of mockery. Luna, is money really that important to you? The smile on my face remained unchanged. Of course, money is important. After all, I need to survive too. Actually, Julian, come with me today and Scarlett pushed the door open, smiling, interrupting Julian's words. What's happening today? He was genuinely gentle with his fiancée, unlike the sarcasm he directed at me. Will you come with me today to pick out wedding rings and gowns? Of course. Julian agreed with a gentle expression, then glanced at me. Ms. Luna, you should come along too. Scarlett shot me a defiant glare, then triumphantly hooked her arm through Julian's and walked out. Just as they reached the door, Julian turned and ordered me, "Oh, and the coffee on the table is cold. Pour it out." It was clearly still warm. Accompanying Scarlett to choose gowns was truly not a pleasant experience. Especially deliberate provocations and Julian's cool indifference, it felt being roasted over a fire. One moment I was straightening her gown, the next wiping her shoes and touching up her makeup, then serving tea, carrying bags, and offering support. Luna, you're truly so subservient, Julian's cold taunt echoed in my ear. I'm just an ordinary working professional. Julian sneered, scoffing, I see you're capable of anything for money. I frowned slightly. When did I become a woman who would stop at nothing for money in Julian's eyes? It seemed it was after that deal with Zhao. That pot-bellied CEO eyed me lecherously, but you tacitly allowed him to ply me with drinks until I was drunk, deliberately letting me take him back to his hotel. You just smiled and said, Luna, you're so clever, you'll surely find a way out. Yes, I was so clever. I clearly saw your precise calculations, yet I still fell into your trap step by step. In your eyes, sacrificing me to establish yourself within Sterling must have seemed like a worthwhile exchange. I knew that deal was important to you. I knew you worked overtime to revise the proposal during that period. I knew your position in the Sterling family was awkward, and you desperately needed to gain a foothold. I knew all of it. But, was I the only one who didn't matter? That day, I drank numbly, enduring the cramping pain in my stomach. I didn't report back to you that I had safely made it home, because I fainted from stomach pain by the roadside and was taken to the hospital by a kind stranger. When I asked for sick leave, you merely mocked me coldly. Julian, I knew you found me tainted. But it was also at that moment that you made me completely give up hope, deciding to marry Ethan. What are you thinking about, staring blankly at Scarlett? Julian complained, annoyed. I called you several times, and you didn't hear. Nothing. Miss Scarlett looked stunning in her wedding gown. I quickly composed myself. It was all in the past. Now, Julian was just my boss. She truly is beautiful. Julian stood beside me, praising her without reservation. Scarlett has a good family background, is highly educated, and capable. I'm truly lucky to be able to marry such a woman. I gave a bitter laugh. Julian, why say such things to me? What exactly are you trying to prove? Oh, come on, if you want to praise her, do it in front of her. Why insist on telling Ms. Luna? Ms. Luna has good taste. Julian looked at me, deliberately saying, am I right? Of course, Ms. Scarlett and Mr. Julian are truly meant for each other. A fine crack finally appeared in Julian's perfect smile, something only I, who had been with him for years, could detect. Scarlett didn't notice Julian's discomfort and kept clinging to him, picking out not only gowns but also jewelry and a tiara. Although stayed with them the whole time, I knew he was already impatient, even secretly glaring at me a few times. I understood his meaning. He wanted me to step in, play the bad guy, and get him away. But I was no longer the Luna who would exhaust herself worrying about your every move. I stood obediently to the side, maintaining my smile. Anyway, it was all part of the job. A little demanding from the future madam was tolerable for the sake of my salary. Julian understood the importance of the Vance family's deal. No matter how much Scarlett annoyed him, he didn't dare to break ties, so he could only suppress his emotions and stay with her. Julian actually had a bad temper, but in the past, I was always the one on the front lines, offending people. He was happy to feign friendliness and warmth, appearing amiable to everyone, but in truth, he was never sincere. If there was anything special about how he treated me, it was that he reserved all his real bad temper for me. Watching, who was clearly annoyed and helpless but still had to play along, I felt a peculiar sense of satisfaction. After finally seeing off Scarlett, that demanding client, I distinctly felt Julian's mood worsen. Luna, you did that on purpose. Mr. Julian, I don't understand. Didn't you personally agree to accompany Miss Scarlett to choose wedding gowns and dresses? Julian just glared at me resentfully. Fine, Luna, you're really something. I want the Vance family's deal proposal by the end of today. He wanted the proposal for something decided yesterday, and now there were only 2 hours left until closing time. I looked at him calmly. Julian, you're doing this on purpose too. How much longer until the proposal is ready? I'll work overtime tonight. Luna, you've changed. How have I changed? I asked, feigning ignorance. I guessed you wanted to say, I no longer loved you. But saying that would also mean you had always known I loved you. And you, presuming on my favoritism, recklessly consumed my affection and trampled on my true feelings. But you didn't even have the courage to admit it. You only dared to cautiously test the waters. How laughable I was, that I had once loved such a weak, cowardly, and pathetic version of you. Never mind. Go back and rest. Write it tomorrow. Julian withdrew his probing gaze and returned wearily to his office. In the past, I would have certainly smiled fawningly, asked him to dinner, offered to massage his shoulders and neck, and nagged him like a doting mother to eat on time and get proper rest. But now, he wasn't that important. Since my boss agreed, I quickly packed up my things, ready to go home. Because today was a special day, Ethan's birthday. Strictly speaking, it was the day we met, but Ethan whimsically decided to declare it his birthday. This man, his affection was always passionate and straightforward. I wasn't an orphan anymore, I had a home. As soon as I arrived downstairs from our building, I saw my familiar sweet husband. Ethan, dressed in casual clothes, pounced on me like a big bear, pulling me into a hug and nuzzling me playfully. Wifey, did you forget it's my birthday today? How could I forget? I was supposed to work overtime, but Hen, never mind, let's go eat. Okay, Ethan agreed, yet he never let go of me, affectionately lingering on my lips with soft kisses. What are you doing? A furious roar erupted next to my ear. I turned my head, stunned. It was Julian, glaring at me furiously. Ethan immediately pulled me behind him. Who are you? What business is it of yours if I'm affectionate with my wife? Wife. Julian's eyes clearly showed disbelief. I awkwardly tugged at Ethan and introduced them. This is my boss, Julian, and this is my husband, Ethan. Julian smirked coldly. Luna, do you find this kind of joke amusing? Finding just any man to trick me, is this your new trick? Julian, are you really so certain I won't give up on you? Look at this. Ethan held up a vibrant red booklet, proudly showing it to Julian. When I saw the marriage certificate in his hand, I was shocked too. He carefully placed the marriage certificate into his chest pocket, cherishing it immensely. Julian's face was still full of doubt. Nowadays, even things like this can be faked. Luna, aren't you bored? Julian didn't believe Ethan, keeping his intense gaze fixed on me. Listen, boss, aren't you bored? Who would lie to you about something like this? Besides, it's after work hours now. A boss shouldn't interfere with an employee's private life, should he? Ethan wrapped an arm around me, playfully whining, "Wifey, let's go. You have to celebrate my birthday with me today. I've already booked a table at the restaurant." I ruffled Ethan's fuzzy head and calmly said, "Julian, I am indeed married. For 3 years now, you're lying to me. If you're married, why didn't you tell me?" I looked at the man I had once deeply loved. "I did tell you, but you just didn't pay attention." I had indeed mentioned my marriage to Julian. After that time I was hospitalized for a stomach hemorrhage. Ethan rushed to the hospital that very night, taking care of me without hesitation. I groggily woke up to see him asleep by my hospital bed, disheveled and still in his slippers. Seeing me awake, he repeatedly asked if I was uncomfortable anywhere and if I needed him to call a nurse. I said, "Ethan, will you marry me?" He hesitated for a moment, then firmly grasped my hand and said decisively, "Yes." I knew there was an element of defiance in my decision, and I knew he understood my intentions. But this time, I wanted to be selfish for myself. I was truly exhausted, and I longed for a home, for someone who would love me without reservation. Ethan was the best choice. He had always been by my side, just as I had been by Julian's side. If both were to be so servile, then at least one should have their wish granted. I took a few days of sick leave, and upon returning to the office, calmly informed Julian about my marriage. At the time, he just laughed indifferently. "Luna, have your tactics become so petty?" So, in his mind, I was capable of using marriage as a means to force his hand. "Don't make such boring jokes." That was Julian's attitude towards my marriage. Fortunately, from that moment on, I gradually let go of Julian. I thought it would be difficult, but once I tried to accept Ethan, it felt like exhaling a heavy breath that had been pressing on my chest, leaving me much lighter. Ethan's kindness to me was like my devotion to Julian, quiet and wholehearted. Precisely because I had once been in that position, I deeply understood how it felt. I didn't want Ethan to be sad, and perhaps I didn't want my pitiful past self to suffer, so I began to reciprocate Ethan's affection, tacitly allowing his subtle advances. In front of Ethan, I could truly be myself, laughing, getting angry, doing whatever I pleased. He always looked at me with doting affection, fulfilling all my whimsical little requests. It turned out that I, too, could be cherished like a treasure, carefully protected, and meticulously cared for. Once I let go of my obsession with Julian, accepting Ethan became incredibly easy. He was like a gentle spring rain, steadily nurturing. You might think it insignificant, but suddenly you look back and realize he has already brought you renewed life. I was an orphan, found on a summer night by the head of the orphanage, and named Luna. When found out, he stubbornly designated the summer solstice as my birthday, preparing gifts for me, making cakes, and cooking a birthday meal. Ethan had not let me drink alcohol since that stomach hemorrhage, but the atmosphere that day was so good that I still pestered him for a little wine, and everything that followed was natural. I completely gave myself to him. The next day, as soon as I arrived at the office, I sensed a stifling atmosphere. Everyone was quiet as a mouse, afraid of making a mistake and angering the leadership. Chloe tugged at my sleeve. "Luna, can you deliver this document for me? Mr. Julian has sent it back 3 times already. He tears you apart for even the smallest mistake. I'm really scared." I took the document. "It's all right, I'll go." I pushed the door open, unexpectedly encountering Julian's bloodshot eyes. He hadn't slept well last night, definitely pulled an all-nighter, and probably drank too. His shirt and tie were from yesterday, and he hadn't shaved. I chuckled self-mockingly. Even though I had let go, I still instinctively paid attention to his actions. It was a bad habit, I had to change it. "Mr. Julian, here is this quarter's financial report. Please review it." "Luna, is it true you're married?" The topic still changed inexplicably. "It is. To spite me?" I gave a helpless bitter smile. If it were right after getting married, perhaps those emotions would have been there. After all, I had loved the man in front of me for a full 7 years. It wasn't something you could just let go of. But now, after so much had happened, times had changed. "No. You're lying to me. Mr. Julian, I have no reason to lie to you about something like this. Besides, why would I use my marriage to anger you? Who are you to me? What right do I have to do that? You resent me. Luna, you resent me. Looking at the distraught Julian in front of me, I let out a long sigh. Julian, I'm married, and you're about to get engaged. Whatever feelings I once had for you, they're in the past. Let's both move on. I placed the document in front of him and turned to leave. Luna, if I said, I regret it, would you be willing to come back to me? I turned my head, stunned, and saw a humble plea on Julian's usually proud face. But there was no going back for us. Just as I was methodically preparing for Julian and Scarlett's engagement party, I was informed that the wedding banquet was cancelled. I didn't want to investigate the reason, I just wanted to do my job. But even though I kept to myself, someone always came to create obstacles. Slap. I had just stood up to greet her when Miss Eleanor slapped me across the face. You did this. You instigated my son and Scarlett to cancel the engagement. Do you think you'll succeed like this? I'm telling you, as long as I'm here, you'll never get into the Sterling family. You slut. Miss Eleanor raised her hand, ready to strike again, but Julian, who had rushed over, stopped her. Mom, what are you doing? This is the office. Julian, my good son, fire her. I don't want to see this woman. This woman will only ruin you. Get rid of her, get rid of her. I coldly watched Miss Eleanor throw her tantrum. Although my face stung terribly, my heart was utterly cold. This woman, I had once genuinely tried to please. Yet all she ever gave me was harm and mockery. Miss Eleanor's screaming tantrum drew a crowd from the office, and I was the focus of their attention, a focus of pointing, disdain, and speculation. But had I done anything wrong? If there was any mistake, it was that I shouldn't have once loved Julian, bringing this undeserved misfortune upon myself. I said coldly, you don't need to fire me. I'll resign voluntarily. I calmly took off my ID badge and placed it on the desk. First, I want to state that I have no improper romantic relationship with Mr. Julian, we are merely ordinary colleagues. Second, I got married 3 years ago. I reported this to the HR department, so anyone curious can check for themselves. Finally, I deeply love my husband. Please do not accuse me of baseless charges. If defamation occurs, I will pursue legal action to protect my legitimate rights. With those words, I walked out without looking back. Behind me, Julian's voice came, Luna, don't make a scene, but he was held back by Ms. Eleanor, his attempts to stop me futile. Standing at the Sterling's main entrance, looking up at the towering skyscraper, I felt a wave of emotion. Goodbye, the place where I had fought for 10 years. My new life had begun. I heard about the aftermath from Chloe. Julian had a huge argument with his mother, and the Vance family's deal fell through. He was frequently made things difficult for in the Sterling family, but fortunately, he had already established a firm foundation over the years. Though there were some critical remarks, they couldn't shake his position. I listened to these stories with a faint smile, my heart calm. The head of Sterling's HR department was a decisive, career-driven woman. She had never been optimistic about Julian and me, and had once advised me to maintain distance from management. Even so, she announced my marriage on the company's internal announcement system, indirectly vouching for me. Furthermore, considering my hard work over the years, she secured a substantial severance package for me. Both internally and externally, the official word was that I had a mutually agreed separation with the Sterling, maintaining our respective dignities. While things seemed strictly professional, I was grateful for her kindness. After I left, many former colleagues messaged me privately, mostly expressing their reluctance to see me go. I was very touched. Everyone had seen and appreciated my dedication to the Sterling over the years. I was smiling at my phone when Ethan leaned over, trying to get my attention. Wifey, stop looking at your phone and look at me, look at your handsome husband. Ethan was a programmer, a tech-savvy professional, so his work hours and location were flexible, he just needed a laptop. Ever since he learned I had resigned, he had been staying home with me every day. Although he often acted playfully clingy, I knew he was worried I'd feel bad if I was alone. After all, he had personally watched me strive for Sterling, waiting for me repeatedly as I worked overtime until the early hours of the morning before finally coming home. I cupped his face. Sweet husband, I'm unemployed now. You'll have to support me from now on. Really? Ethan asked, beaming with joy. I finally have this chance. Wifey, I'm actually quite wealthy. I could support 10 of you without a problem. I listened to his boasting, smiling faintly without committing. Julian called me late at night. I quietly got up, not wanting to wake Ethan. Are you going to abandon me? Julian's voice was slurred, he seemed to have had some wine. Julian, it's very late. You should get some rest. Luna, you still can't let me go. Julian's voice held a hint of surprise. See? You're still subconsciously concerned about me. Julian. I softly interrupted his self-congratulatory ramblings. Thank you for the reminder, I'll break that bad habit. I told you to get some rest because I don't want to get further entangled with you, and because I don't want to disturb my husband. Luna, do you have to bring him up? Are you trying to provoke me with him? All right, Luna, I admit you won. Divorce him. I'll give you whatever you want, even marry you. I lowered my head and gave a bitter laugh. Julian actually said he wanted to marry me? We had never even dated. In the past, when I stood by his side, my identity was always the secretary. Julian, you are drunk. Stop talking nonsense. I won't get a divorce. I love my husband very much. You love him? Julian's mocking laughter echoed in my ear. Luna, listen to the nonsense you're spouting. You love him? Is that even possible? You love me. It's always been me. Julian fell silent. My actions of loving him, he clearly saw them, remembered them distinctly. Yet in all those days I loved him, he never gave me even a sliver of a response. After a long silence, he finally pleaded softly, Luna, I was wrong. Please come back. I can't live without you, Julian, I did love you, but that's all in the past. I calmly hung up the phone and blocked all his contact information. I needed to say goodbye to the past. I tiptoed back to bed. Ethan groggily snuggled closer, pulled me into his arms, and instinctively held my hand. My hands and feet were always cold, this was his habitual gesture. Lying in his arms, looking at his profile, my heart felt very calm. I never expected to run into Julian, especially downstairs from our own building. Ethan's cooking skills were getting better and better, the dishes he made were increasingly to my taste, and my appetite was growing too. I complained, yet contentedly enjoyed being fed by him. One day, we went downstairs for a walk and saw Julian. He had lost a lot of weight, his cheekbones were more prominent, and he had stubble on his chin, giving him a sense of decay. He walked straight towards me, but Ethan blocked his way. Julian sneered coldly, Luna, we've known each other for 10 years. Can't we even exchange a few words now? I patted Ethan on the shoulder. What do you want to say? Julian glanced at Ethan, his meaning clear, he didn't want anyone else present. I gestured for Ethan to go back first. He deliberately put his arm around me and whispered, Wifey, come back soon. I'll be waiting for you at home. Okay. Watching leave, frequently looking back, Julian smirked triumphantly. Luna, you see? You still choose me. If I had chosen you, I wouldn't have married him. You got married 3 years ago. I checked the date, it was after the deal with Zhao. Julian's emotions seemed complicated. Luna, it's all in the past. Divorce him. I knew Julian misunderstood. He thought I was bullied by that old man that day and married Ethan out of humiliation. I looked at Julian with a cold gaze, feeling more and more that I had loved the wrong person. In his mind, I was actually that kind of tragic person. Nothing happened that night. After I took Mr. Zhao back to his room, he fell asleep. After all, the contract had already been signed at the dinner table, which is why the old man didn't make a fuss later. Besides, the profits over the years have been substantial. But I did get hospitalized for a stomach hemorrhage from drinking too much, and Ethan was the one who took care of me the whole time. It was then that I decided to marry him. Julian, I was by your side for 10 years, but Ethan was also by my side for 10 years. You never paid attention to me, so you weren't aware of his presence. In those 7 years, I didn't make you fall in love with me, but I genuinely fell in love with him. So please stop deceiving yourself, and don't malign my husband's and my relationship. As for you and me, my feelings were unrequited in the past, and there will be no future for us now. Julian looked at me with an unfamiliar expression, as if he had never known me. He walked away without a word, his steps hurried, almost stumbling. I never expected to run into Scarlett, especially at the hospital. Even more unexpected, she was pregnant. Hadn't she and Julian cancelled their engagement? Don't misunderstand, it's not Julian's. For some reason, Scarlett was very friendly today, completely different from the domineering young lady she used to be. She glanced at the lab results in my hand and smiled. Congratulations, something good is coming your way. Thank you. I touched my belly, smiling blissfully. Butts mot. Her is a real handful, so your future days will be tough. Wait, what did this have to do with Julian? Had she misunderstood something? Wifey, I've finished asking the doctor about the pregnancy guidelines. Let's go home. Ethan carefully put his arm around me, as if I were a fragile piece of porcelain. Scarlett looked utterly shocked. Wait, who are you? I gave an awkward laugh. This is my husband, Ethan. What? It turned out that Scarlett and Julian's engagement was just an act, a collaboration. Scarlett had someone she liked, but her family disapproved, so she needed someone to help her get through it. Julian had also sensed me gradually pulling away, so he used Scarlett to provoke me. That guy even said that once the collaboration was settled, he'd use the excuse of canceling the engagement to propose to you. Who knew you were already married? To be honest, I hadn't expected that either. Oh well, it's good you're married. The family is too complicated, and Julian has a terrible temper. Only you could put up with him. I lowered my head and smiled faintly. With her pretense dropped, Scarlett was straightforward and quite endearing. It's all in the past now. We're both well, and I need to embrace my new identity. The two expectant mothers touched the little lives in their bellies and exchanged smiles. I had blocked all of Julian's contact information, so when I received a call from him again, it was actually Chloe calling. I heard from Scarlett that you're pregnant? Mom, another long silence followed. Just as I was about to hang up, his hoarse voice came through again. Come back to Sterling after you've had the baby. The group needs you. Your position is being held for you. No, let's leave it for someone more suitable. There's no one more suitable, no one else, Julian babbled like an incoherent child. Remembering what Scarlett had said, I ultimately couldn't bring myself to hang up the phone. Luna, come back. I really can't take it anymore. Come back, and I'll promote you to vice. Julian, we can't go back. This is my second child, and I want to take good care of them. Yes, it was my second. I had lost one child due to a miscarriage because of Julian. I knew Julian had a difficult time in the Sterling family. But just because he was struggling, did that mean I deserved to suffer? Julian was the Sterling family's illegitimate son. I wasn't interested in the gossip surrounding these wealthy elite families. But when Julian was involved, I couldn't help but pay attention. Miss Eleanor was quite a cunning woman. She managed to climb up from mistress, step by step pushing out the first wife and securing her position as the matriarch of the Sterling family. But she always looked down on me, and constantly made things difficult for me. For sake, I had always endured it. But by that time, I was already married and had let go of my obsession with Julian. I was merely reporting on work strictly professionally, yet she unreasonably drove me out of the Sterling family. Julian, succumbing to his mother's pressure, could only tacitly allow Ms. Eleanor's abuse towards me. The family's villa was located in the suburban estate. As luck would have it, my phone died, so I walked 3 kilometers to borrow a phone and ask Ethan to pick me up. I didn't know I was pregnant at the time. At first, I held myself together, but the moment I saw Ethan, I let my guard down, and then I ended up in the hospital. That miscarriage was an accident, but Ethan couldn't let it go. He felt he hadn't taken good care of me. But I knew it was my lingering feelings for Julian that had cost us that poor child. Scarlett was right, the Sterling family was too complicated, not suitable for a young orphan girl like me. Luna, you hate me, don't you? You can keep hating me, even hate me forever, if you want. But, please don't abandon me. You acting like this truly hurts me. I was wrong. Please come back. Let me make it up to you, Prop. RLY. Marriage can end in divorce, you know. It's okay if you leave after the baby is born, I wouldn't mind. I promise you, I'll handle my mother, so she won't make things difficult for you. I listened calmly to Julian's pleas. My heart remained completely unmoved. Julian, stop it. You're the one making things difficult for me now. You're just used to me being around. That's not love. Luna, do you think I can't even recognize my own feelings? If you saw them, why did you never respond? Luna. Enough, Julian. There's no point rehashing this now. You no longer have a place in my heart. Stop bothering me. I looked at the man in front of me, who was seriously reading the pregnancy guidelines, and smiled softly. In our youthful ignorance, who hasn't loved someone unworthy? Thankfully, after all these detours, I finally saw the right person. I still have a long life ahead, and we can slowly fall in love.